Well, I was hoping to get a break in the rain here so I could talk to y'all about faith. But we're in Scotland, so it's raining, and we're just going to talk in the rain a little bit. I was talking with my Bible college students this weekend on Saturday, and I asked them a question that I think might be interesting to y'all. And the question is, how do you know when you're in faith? I think that's a legitimate thing to explore. I mean, how do we know? I've been in situations where people have said, I want to know if I'm in faith. I think I'm in faith. Am I in faith? How do I know? And the answer really comes down to, if you're not sure, then you're probably not in faith. One of the students suggested that maybe the thing about faith is that when we're in faith, there's no doubt. And you know what? That's a really good idea. The challenge is, and I don't think the student's wrong with that, but I think sometimes people don't understand what doubt is and what it means, because things happen when you get in faith. And the reality is, the short answer is, how do you know when you're in faith? You just know. You just know. And I mean, no one can shake you off from it. You just know that you're in faith. And that's easy for you personally to know that you're in faith. Where it gets tricky is when all of the whispers come in and all the voices outside, whether they're other people or, they're the internal voices that say, are you sure? Do you know, that sounds kind of weird. I don't know, maybe. And the voices can sometimes throw you off. That's the reality of it. So you just have to know when you're in faith. And if you're not sure, if you think maybe you're in faith, you're probably not. I mean, realistically. And the challenge is, people hold on to faith in spite of evidence quite frequently. And sometimes those people who are doing that, they're believing kookaluna weird stuff that is just not true. I'm sure you've seen that. And the challenge is, when you believe stuff that isn't true, you look a little weird. But here's the thing. Sometimes you can believe stuff that is true, but all the evidence is pointing in a different direction. And you still look kind of silly. I mean, let's be honest. When Moses was building the ark, it had never rained. He's talking about it's going to rain. And they're like, right, what's rain? It's never rained. He looked really silly. The thing is, in the end, he was proved right. And what we say about people who have believed in spite of the odds, when everything else looks like there's no way, but yet they hold on to it in spite of all of the evidence to the contrary and all the facts that are pointing in a different direction. And then when they're proved right, we say they have great faith. So the challenge is, how do you know when you're in faith? Well, the reality is, you just know. The tricky part is, is it true or is it not true? I think I heard God. I think God said, go to Dumfries and build a Bible college. Lisa and I both thought that's what God was saying. But the authorities above us and other people were saying, really, you should go to a bigger city. Go to Glasgow, go to Edinburgh. And it makes sense on the face of things, because that's where the people are, right? And you want to build a Bible college where people are. The challenge is, we heard God say, Dumfries. Now, one way to know that what you're hearing is true, and you can take it to the bank and you can stand on it in faith, is when you're believing what God said. And the best place to find what God says is in the Bible. The challenge is, the word Dumfries is never in the Bible. So how do we know that God said Dumfries? We believed it, and we were pretty sure, and God confirmed it to our hearts, but to everybody else, it just didn't make sense. It wasn't a big city. It wasn't necessarily the logical place. We thought it was God's place, but was it the logical place? And since we didn't see Dumfries in the Bible, how do we know? Well, there's another guy, if we look in the Bible, that had a similar kind of thing. He walked up to a bush that was on fire and wasn't burning. And I'm sure you've heard the story about Moses and the burning bush. And, the burning bush tells him to do some stuff. Burning bush tells him to go down to Egypt and get your people free, and I'm going to stay under these trees because it's not raining as hard there. Oh, come back. I'm over here. There we go. So Moses was at this burning bush, and the thing I like about that whole story is that God gave Moses a sign. And he said, here's how you'll know. Here's how you know that I'm God and that it's real and that I'm the one telling you to do this. You will come back to this mountain with the people of Israel and you'll worship me here. Well, basically God's saying that you'll know that it's me when it's all said and done. Well, that's kind of challenging. You don't know it's God until it's said and done. Well, here's what I've found in my life. I know it's God because I've learned to recognize his voice. I know it's God. But other people won't see that it's God until the thing's said and done. You know, we had to just back off because the leadership of our organization wasn't so sure about Dumfries. And we took it back to God and said, God, are you sure? Did we hear you right? Really, that was the question. We knew God knows what he's talking about. So we were pretty sure he knew what he was talking about. The question was, could we hear correctly? And God told us, I told you it starts in Scotland and Dumfries. So we're like, okay, well, you got to tell them because we understand and we hear you. But we don't have authority over them and we can't go without their approval. So you've got to talk to them. And you know what? He did. And here we are. And now we've been here 3 years. The Bible college is successful. And we've gotten to the end of the thing. We're not at the end of the Bible college, but you know what I'm saying. Now, looking back, we can say, yes, Chris and Lisa did hear God correctly. But other people couldn't see it until we got to the end of the thing, until it came to fruition and, in our case, was successful. So that's how you know when you hear God. In your heart, you just know. Other people may think you're kookaluna nuts crazy, and that's okay if what you're hearing is really true. And the way they'll know that it's true is when you get to the end of it and you're proven right because what you were believing for actually comes to pass. And I may not make it easier for you right now today, but you can relax a little bit in the knowledge that you are hearing clearly from God. And I'll tell you what, you can look at other people and if they look like they're seeing, believing some crazy things, as long as it doesn't conflict with the Word of God, you can just step back and know that one way or another, the truth will come out. If the thing they were believing for comes to pass in spite of all the evidence, then maybe they were believing God, and maybe they are in faith. And if it doesn't, maybe they missed God. But that's okay. God is the God of second chances. So even if you miss God, he is for you, and he will keep speaking. And if you keep listening, you'll hear, you'll respond, and you'll move forward into great faith as well. I believe that for you. God has big things for you, and just keep seeking after him, and you'll find those big things he has planned for you. And it's starting to rain a little harder, so I'm going to head back inside, and we'll talk to you next time. All right, enjoy. Bye-bye.